Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video I'm going to show you how we can take that two-column layout, put it in a div, and have that div centered. Now this centering a div technique is going to work anywhere that you need to center a dividing piece of content itself, or any block level content for that matter. So let's get going on that right now. Last video we got to separate our two columns out into a two-column layout here, and if you'll notice when we resize our browser, it resizes quite nicely until we get down really to mobile, but we haven't really talked about that aspect of building websites yet. However, you can see we have a nice flexible two-column layout here. The only problem is once we get way big here, it looks like everything's just too far apart. Not to mention our content here, we don't actually want this pushed up directly against the left side of the screen. What we do, however, want is this content, the main column and the sidebar, to both be centered in the page with the width of about 90%. So let's go ahead and see how we would accomplish that. The first step would be adding a div around these two sections. Now, if you remember, a div tag is really just a divider tag, and this is a tag that allows you to essentially wrap around content, and you can give it a class and do things with, essentially. Before section and aside were available and main, all we had were div tags, and we just threw div tags to wrap everything. So let's go ahead and give this a class, and this class is just going to be column wrapper, like so. And we're going to copy this class. I'm going to save this, and now let's head over to our CSS. Let's sort of keep things in order. I usually like to have my class names, if it's a small app like this, just sort of in the general order of things. That way you know where to find things. I actually have a quite more elaborate method for organizing and laying out my style sheets on larger projects. However, for this project, just putting things in order is a good idea. So now we have column-wrapper, and we can go ahead and say width of 90%. Okay. Now, when we refresh this, you'll see it worked. If we check out our inspect element just somewhere around here, we inspect the div that is wrapping here, you'll notice a couple of things. Usually when you highlight over things, they get this background color. We're hovering over this, and we don't see that background color. Well, one of the reasons why, both of the children of this div are being floated. And you saw that happen with our header. When our header had items floated in it, it did not have any height because it requires the document flow for height. So if you remember in that video, to fix that, we actually had to use a clear fix. Now, we added a clear fix class to our project, and we simply just dropped in that clearfix class onto the header. So let's come down here and paste in the clearfix class on our column wrapper as well. Let's refresh. Okay, and now you'll notice something. The footer information actually jumped down quite a bit because now the wrapper has the height of the tallest element inside of it. Now this is accomplished just by having a clearfix. So we added a width of 90%, and since both of the children of this both had a percentage-based width, they both scaled correctly to match the correct size, so nothing got pushed out or anything like that. However, it's still on the left here. This isn't centered. So what's a good technique for centering a div? Well, to center a div, you need a couple of things. You need it to essentially have some kind of width. Pixel-based, percentage-based width, it just needs to have a width, and then you need to say margin, and in this case we're going to give the top and bottom margin of 0 because we don't actually want a top or margin bottom at this point, and then we're going to give it a left and right margin of auto. So auto essentially is going to automatically calculate the left and right margin for us, and now when we refresh our page, you can see that the learn, level up, and our sidebar are now both centered in this page. And we check this out, you can see that we have equal left and right margins here. Perfect. So this is how you center a div with CSS. Now, if you're trying to center other things, let's say text, if you're trying to center this headline, there is a text align center property that you can use to align text. However, you're trying to align buttons or links or really anything that's not a display inline inside of a display block element, you can actually give that display block and then a width and then a margin 0 auto, just like we did for this, to center pretty much any element. Cool, so this layout's really starting to come together. In the next video, we're going to make our footer work and just look a little bit nicer here. And then we can continue making this site better and better until we have like a really nice working website. And by that point, you should have a great handle on the foundations of building your first website. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.